Yeah, that would be, I don't know what to say about it. Sorry.
You already zoned out. It's okay.
I did.
What'd you just say?
I don't know. Let's just go to wrap up. Are you ready to wrap up? How much time do we have? We good? Welcome back to the Behind the Well show. Roger here with Elias again. Big week. Big day, I guess.
Sure. Huge day.
I called it Thanksgiving, and I called it Thanksgiving to somebody earlier. I'm thankful for this day. Valentine's.
Me too.
How much are you going to spend?
I have no idea. I don't know. Whatever Maddie wants to do, that's what we're going to do. So
we're going to get into some Valentine's Day spending, but it made me think of something. It's an article I just read on, I think it was CNBC where I saw this article. But it's talking about how the quiet luxury trend is out and loud budgeting is in.
kind of interesting, isn't it?
No kidding. People are out of money. Like, it's not cool to buy stuff if we can't afford it, because last November credit cards hit the highest amount ever. There's no more stimulus checks. So now we're going to talk about loud budgeting on TikTok. It's primarily being driven on TikTok. But the article actually really talks about how people are really having to change their buying habits and how to actually do that. And I thought these are actually good tips, because I know people who every night shop online. Like, it's almost like their hobby. And you know what it got me thinking about, Elias? Advertising companies and advertisement agencies are the most efficient they've ever been.
Why is that? Just because they can just
it's all targeted.
They can get it right
Elias,
in front of you.
You don't even know you're being advertised to, and you are.
I love it though,
because it's all the stuff that you like.
Right. So I like the targeted marketing of nowadays, because I don't see ads that aren't or irrelevant to me. I only see stuff that I like.
But what happens when marketing is this effective? Eventually, they know you're going to buy. They're going to hit the hot button at the right time. There was an event. There was some reason you needed to have it. You're like, yep, I need that right now.
Yep.
And you don't.
True.
Here's the other thing that got me thinking about. A couple years ago, when everybody was predicting recessions, you came to me and talked about a phrase you'd either created or heard, and just said, if you're not long on the U.S. stock market, you think American companies are going to get worse at making money.
I say that a lot.
What they do is they innovate, and this is what's happened in the advertising and marketing space. These companies have innovated, become way more efficient, and probably less money. I'm going to guess it's a lot less money per impression to advertise on social media to a captive audience of people who want that product versus go advertise in the big game that was just last week.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. And yeah, it's got to be way more effective than putting an ad in the newspaper like you would have 20 years ago.
Well, for sure,
because you don't know. Yeah, that's like a blanket ad, right? Well, it's just going to go to everyone who has this newspaper subscription, whether they are in the market for whatever you're advertising, lawnmower, refrigerator, whatever it might be.
Okay, so this is how we know it's really effective. This is in USA Today. America's 4 largest automakers forego the big game ads for the first time in decades. 23 years since Ford, Toyota, GM, and Chrysler haven't bought an ad for the big game. Think about that.
Well, they probably know that they can just advertise on social media, and people are going to be watching the game and be on their phone at the same time.
They know, Elias, if you want an electric Ford truck or if you want a diesel Chevrolet truck, and that's all it's going to advertise for you, and if you aren't into that, they're just going to completely ignore you. Because why would they try to market to you if you're not in the market for that?
That's how you
And now
the
they
NFL has to lower their price on advertising for the Super Bowl because of all these ways you can just target market to people. That's really powerful. To think that, okay, so these car companies, they're not doing it. Well, now that they said, no, we're not willing to spend that much, how many other companies are going to say, well, maybe we shouldn't spend that kind of money on a commercial and we can just blast it right to their phone through different channels?
It's exactly what's going to happen. But that goes to the point of why individuals who primarily are on social media, which is everybody, let's be honest, everybody at some levels on social media, unless you're like over 75.
I only know 2 people that don't have any social media.
Well, I know one person who didn't used to have social media, and now they're one of the biggest contributors on social media that I know. They're on there like 5 times a day. And 5 years ago, they refused to be on it. So people change. But point is, it's why people are having to shift their buying habits because it's just way too easy to buy it. Think about I'll use myself 25 years ago. I'm into the outdoor activities. If I wanted to order something for fishing, I would literally have to go to the Cabela's catalog, the big paper catalog, flip the pages, dial the 800 number, talk to the lady on the other side of the dial or guy. This is the number I want. And it's an amount of effort. Now you can just hit buy now and it's at your house in 3 days. It's amazing. But that's why people are starting to talk about locking down their budget, because it's really easy for all of your money to creep out. We've talked about in the past, most people's budgets don't get blown up by the big purchase. It gets blown up $30 and $40 at a time.
Yeah, it's all those little brown packages that show up on the doorstep.
Even though people are starting to tighten up the reins per se, it doesn't look like people are going to tighten up all that much for Valentine's Day.
No. People think, I thought it was interesting, some of this data is saying that people think because of inflation they're going to spend less money. But who that's in either a relationship or married, who's going to just, inflation's been too high, honey, we're not doing Valentine's Day. Good luck with that conversation.
It may go from buying gifts to a fancier dinner, but it's not like not doing it. I mean,
It's
right?
not
Like,
cut.
if you're in a
the
committed
expectation
relationship,
is a 50% cut in spending. That's not going to happen.
well, I mean, you start to look at the numbers. On average, the consumer is expecting to spend about $185 each. That's a couple $370, which actually that's a little higher than I thought. I was expecting that number to be lower, to be honest with you, because I think there's a lot of married couples that maybe don't do gifts and do a fancy dinner. But then I guess you have the people like we're headed to Miami for Valentine's Day, not for Valentine's Day, but for a different reason. But we're going to parlay that into Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so you're pulling up the average.
Yeah, I'm going to pull the average up. But top gift ideas for this year. This is actually candy's the top gift idea. If I brought home a box of chocolates to my wife for Valentine's Day, she'd be like, what? I mean, I guess it's a gift idea if you're like 17.
The candy? That's the
when
best
your wife,
part.
Well, yeah, I love the candy, but can that be the primary gift?
No.
I mean,
no.
I think you'd be better off getting some flowers with a box of candy. But if your lead gift here for Valentine's is candy,
Flowers is that's what my wife likes. Flowers, so easy.
and if you're a man listening, it doesn't matter if you think flowers are a waste of money. It's what they like. Send them flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Jewelry, 22% of the people are going to get jewelry. But this year, there's 4 categories that are expected to set records. So you mentioned people think they're going to spend 50% less, but we're expected to hit record sales in these 4 categories. Spending $6.4 billion on jewelry. That doesn't surprise me. Flowers, $2.6 billion, and $3 billion on clothing. And we're expected as an economy to spend just under $5 billion on food.
I'm looking at this graph. Why was there was a huge jump in Valentine's Day spending in 2020? Why would that
You don't know why?
But that Valentine's Day 2020 would have been before the pandemic. because it would have been in February. We didn't shut down until March.
Well, maybe we were hitting a peak and a crescendo, and then it all kind of got squashed the next year because a lot of stuff wasn't open. I'm not sure. That's pretty good insight, actually. I don't know. Was everybody preparing to get locked down?
I don't think
I mean,
so.
I remember I flew to New Orleans. I left like February 22nd, and nothing had shut down yet. But I remember flying home, and people were coughing and being sick. But you're right, nothing was shut down. I don't know why that was so high. But I don't think people are going to spend less. I just don't think they're going to. People say they will, but they won't unless their credit cards are maxed out. But it all goes to, people who don't have a grasp on their budget and what they're spending don't really know where they're going.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? The financial professionals at Premier Investments and Wealth Management are the guides you've been looking for. Picture this, a financial plan tailored exclusively to you. Our team of experienced professionals will work closely with you to understand your aspirations and develop a personalized roadmap to get you there. Whether you're dreaming of retirement, buying a new home, or sending your kids to college, we've got the tools to give you confidence in your financial life. We'll help you navigate saving and investing, retirement income, and tax strategies. Our job is not just about making money. It's about helping our clients make smart choices. We'll provide you with the tools and knowledge to confidently steer your financial ship toward a brighter future. Are you ready to embark on your financial journey with confidence? Visit www.btwealthshow.com or click the link in the description of this podcast. Your financial future awaits.
It makes me think a little bit about this Dan Sullivan book. You know who Dan Sullivan is, right? He's the strategic coach. Jonas brought him to our attention. But he actually wrote a short book called The Gap and the Gain, co-authored by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. It's about how people look at progress. And I think this is insightful because I never really thought about it this way until I went through and read this. So many people only think about where they are and what the end result is. And the end result, we all as a society want the end result instantly. But that's really not how you get to that end result.
No, and you should give yourself credit for the progress, which I think is kind of one of the underlying ideas of this. Instead of thinking about how far away you are from achieving whatever goal it is, you should think about the progress that you've made. And I think one thing that this lends itself to is consistency. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day about how, the older we get, the more we're agreeing that being consistent is the most important thing. Because we were talking about careers, working out, all this stuff. Even if you just think about like working out, a lot of people, you go to the gym and you get this intense workout in. Well, you're better off just going to the gym 5 days a week and having a good workout for 25 or 30 minutes than you are going once a week and doing a really intense 60-minute workout. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with this of if you're thinking about the progress I'm making because I'm being consistent and focus on that instead of, I'm still the gap, right? What they're talking about. I'm still this far away from achieving it. If you just keep being consistent, you're going to get there. And it's the same thing in finance. A lot of little things along the way are going to add up over time.
This is the exact reason the debt snowball works better than the debt avalanche. Because
yeah, that's a good point.
It's why it works, because psychologically the gain is so far away, most people give up before they get there. But if you focus on, instead of where you are today versus the ideal scenario, you focus on what you've done positive to get there, you'll get there faster. So think about this. Okay, I want to save $1 million. Well, if you've been chugging away $1,000 a month for 10 years, you're not even close. You're like, man, this is never going to happen. But if you say, hey, man, I've saved $100,000, I'm getting it done, that's going to be encouraging. Same thing with paying off debt. I just met with someone. They had some credit card debt. And I said, well, let's just figure out how to do this slowly over time and concentrate on the things we've done good. And I started showing her how the debt snowball works. And she goes, oh man, that's $450 a month we clear up. Well, we could apply $450 to the next one. That one will be paid off in 3 months. And she's starting to visualize this versus saying, how do I pay off this $20,000?
Yeah,
And it was all from a medical
one
bill.
One step at a time.
Yeah, and this wasn't like she ran these credit cards up. It was literally from an unexpected medical emergency that she needed to take care of. So I said, well, great, let's just figure out a way to get out of this. But Dan Sullivan in this book, I think there's some insights. He suggests that those who are focusing on the small wins and what I've accomplished versus the ideal scenario, they have less anxiety, they're more confident, they have less disappointment, less depression. But that's not what most people do. Most people are only focused on the end result. So I think the story of this is, in investing in life, focus on the small things and the small wins, and it's going to add up to much more fulfillment and the ability to get to the ultimate goal. Because most ultimate goals don't just happen overnight. Like, they just don't. Nothing good happens in 24 hours if it's a big goal.
No, they don't. And I think it's also, the other thing I was thinking about is this really lends itself to a more positive mindset, which I think is very important, especially, really in like an environment like today where we all have social media. So we're always constantly seeing the best of everyone's life, right? Like, people don't go on, you would never, like me, am I going to go on social media and share a video of my 5-year-old son having a temper tantrum? Or am I going to share a video of him like on his sled doing something cool and having fun? Like, I'm not going to show everyone the negative, right? So I think in this like world of, we're always seeing all this messaging of, oh, everything's great. When you're working on your finances or yourself, like, keep in mind, if you have a positive outlook about, okay, yeah, I set out to do X. I'm not doing X, but I'm doing half of that. That's still an achievement in itself that you can be proud of. It's not just, it's not all or nothing, I guess.
I think you should start a YouTube channel with all the stuff your kids mess up at. I bet people would watch it.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Well, it's niche marketing. This is my family fails.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, this is all the stuff we mess
fails.
up on.
So
family
fails.
fails.
Yeah. So like, if I would have been videoing the other day when our 5-year-old jumped off the couch and landed on the 1.5-year-old, and then the little boy, he hit his face on the bookshelf and now he's a big mark, like, put that on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, make sure you don't do stuff that's going to get you in trouble, but
I didn't jump on him.
Well, another part of this is something called the money gap trap. And I think this is good. And we're particularly prone to this gap thinking when it comes to money management, when we accumulate assets and financial goals. And part of the reason is people move the goalpost all the time. So when someone says, hey, I want to get $1 million net worth, and once they get $1 million net worth, well, do they just stop? No, they move the goalpost. They're like, well, now I want 5.
Whoa.
And
yeah.
It's actually what makes people that have a lot of money sometimes less happy. Everybody thinks if I hit the goal, I'm going to be happy. Financially, you'll probably just move the goalpost, and you'll be exactly where you were when you had 250,000. You'll feel more confident with $1 million, but now you're like, I need 5 or 10 or whatever the number becomes, because we're constantly moving the goalposts. And that's where, if you live in the gap, you focus on what you've accomplished. Hey, I got to accumulate $1 million in my 401k at school, versus saying, well, now I need 5. You got to figure out how to live in the moment and be happy.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do, right? Because you're always going to want more, or feel like it's not enough.
Well, it just goes back to a couple of things. Like, more doesn't mean happier, and it reminds me of the episode we did last week on lifestyle creep. That's like a form of lifestyle creep. Well, I was good with $1 million, but I'm not good with that anymore. Now it needs to be 5. And the only reason you're not good with $1 million anymore is you accumulated more money, you've got more stuff, and now you want to have lifestyle creep in there. So now you need 5. It's not that you actually probably need 5 now because you're living a different lifestyle. as lifestyle creep.
Yeah, and the reality is you're probably, whether it's $1 million or $5 million, at one point you're happier with a lot less, right? Like anyone who's achieved that, at one point you probably had nothing to your name, and you're probably perfectly happy with that.
Most
you
people are
probably
pretty
had
happy in college. They have nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
most
think about
college
how-
students are in a pretty good mood.
Think about how college kids live. They live on the lowest possible.
They live their best life. That's
Not
for sure.
okay. Not all college kids live in poverty, but most kids are not living high on the hog in college. I know I wasn't. I know what my monthly budget was, and it's like, when you're going out with your friends, it's like if you get $25, it's a pretty good night.
I was bougie broke back then. Did you catch
What's
that?
bougie broke?
That phrase was in the article. It's bougie broke.
No,
It's like,
what's bougie broke?
I don't know. You don't have any money, but you still spend it on stuff, and it's bougie broke. I guess you're broke, but you got some.
It
nice
sounds like
stuff.
Visa broke to me.
Yeah. Well, it was actually I think it actually meant something about almost forced scarcity too was part of it. But I guess that's bougie broke.
So Elias, 2024 for us is the year of personalized advice. And one of the things we want to do on the podcast is take a piece of common advice, and instead of focusing on why you should do it, we're going to challenge it. And this week, I thought this would be a good one because this is really commonly heard out there. And we're going to talk about the 50-30-20 budget. And for those of you who don't know what the 50-30-20 budget is, it's a way to allocate your dollars between your needs, your wants, and your savings. So in this budget, 50% would go to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to savings. Give me a little insight on challenging this and why you don't think this would necessarily be the optimal way to do a budget, and I'll kind of share my thoughts as well.
Well, there's a lot of when you start to just talk about needs and 50% of money on needs. Well, this is really going to be driven by where you live, right? Like the cost of living where you live is going to drive this, because if you live in a city where to live in a nice neighborhood, the houses cost X, and maybe you have to do private school and that costs this. Well, your needs might just be more than 50% of the budget.
Well, let me back you up for a second. You said two things.
What?
A nice house will cost this and private schools cost this. A nice house and private schools, neither one of those are needs.
Those
would fall into the want category. Well, no, here's why. If there's public school available, that's what you need. And this is where society gets it wrong too. Public school is what's needed. Doesn't mean it's good where you're at. Private school would be a want.
Okay.
Hey, we want to get our kid into a better school.
Right. Okay. So I can see it. I can see both ways. Where one, maybe your needs are more than that, but then also, what if you can get the percentage of money you have to spend on needs to 30 or 40% of your overall budget? Like, what would stop you from saving more or spending things on lifestyle items? I don't know, because I think no matter where, to your point, no matter where you live, you can find a way to, it might not, you can find a way to drive down the cost of your needs, I guess, by having a house. Maybe you don't live in the neighborhood you want to live in, but you have when I say nice, I mean you're not getting rained on when it's raining outside.
Yeah,
it's a roof over your head that's reliable.
Here's the problem with this. This is why this stinks right away. What's a need and what's a want? That was kind of what I was getting at.
It's got to be different for everyone.
It's different for everybody, so it's already wrong. Because what one person believes is a need and one person believes is a want are two different things.
Yeah, so are vehicles in the needs category in this? Or
well,
what?
yeah, a vehicle is in the need, but how much? Right? You have to have a vehicle in today's society. Well, how much is that? How much because
when
even
you lump it in with all your other needs, it can't be more than 50%.
There you go. So that's why this kind of advice is just garbage. What you need to do is take a look at your unique situation and figure out, hey, I believe first line item should be saving money, right? Is it 20%? I don't know. Guess how you find out? You put together a financial plan. You can go to btwellshow.com, click the link in the description. We can help you do that. But that's the first step, is to put together a plan. Get an idea of, hey, this is how much money I make. This is how much money I need to save to be successful. Then all of this other stuff will start to take shape in your budget. But to just say 50% has to be on needs and 30% on wants, well, what if you don't want to eat out and you don't want to travel? Well, maybe your needs could be higher or your savings could be higher. It's just, this kind of blanket advice is just kind of dangerous. Like, I don't know anybody who does a budget like this, by the way.
No.
Like breaks it into needs and wants. I saw this on TikTok. I'm like, this is silliness. Because it's all
right.
subjective.
Yeah, another question I would have is, if you have the lifestyle you want, but you're saving 40% of your income, like, why would you manipulate it to do something different? I mean, that'd be a super high savings rate, but if you have a really high savings rate and you have the lifestyle you want, like this would tell you to save less. Well, why would you save less?
This is where I really like Jonas's book. I do. The
Which
No Budget
one, the
Lifestyle.
Upside Down Retirement?
No, the No Budget Lifestyle.
Oh.
And it's not because there's no budget. The budget's based around your lifestyle. It's unique to each and every individual person. And if you haven't read the book, you can go to our website and get it. But think about it. So you mentioned I kind of set you up for that question, by the way, because I knew where I was going to go with it. But you said, hey, private schools need to have a private school. In your family, if you lived in like a large metro area, private school's a need for you. It's not a want, because it's what's important to your family.
Yes.
Like,
I just want to clear everything
Yeah.
up. That's not a need in my family, going to private school.
No,
I'm
you know
saying
what?
there's areas of the country, though, where people would view that as a need as well.
Right. That's why this stinks. Like where I live now, the public schools are better than the private schools, in my opinion. That's not a bash on the private schools. Our public schools are very good here. If I lived in a large metro inner city area, that may or may not be the case. And then in my world, my budget, that's a need, not a want anymore. So that's why, you need to design your budget around your unique lifestyle. For us, and this is how I tell people you should do it, or guide people, hey, the first line item in the budget should be you. Not your mortgage, not private school, not your car, you. I'm going to save X amount of dollars. If you don't know what that number should be, get a financial plan. It's the easiest way to do it. And then once you know what you need to save, then everything else comes to light. Like, okay, well, what if your needs are 25%? That means you could spend, say you're saving 15, your needs are 25, that's 40. You get to spend 60% on your wants. That sounds pretty awesome. Your hobby, vacations, everything comes to light if you have a really personalized budget. So on today's show, we just wanted to talk about this advice that this is what you should do. This isn't what you should do. You should figure out what your savings number needs to be successful, and then design the rest of the budget about what's important to you, your family, your lifestyle, and how you want to enjoy your life, knowing that our retirement savings is taken care of. Elias, what's your number one takeaway from today's show? I mean, what do you think what we talked about today is most important for people to kind of wrap their head around and take away? I know we do a lot of these shows, and sometimes it's just a lot of information. And I learned a long time ago that the goal when you're learning isn't to learn everything. It's to take one or two key things away that you can take and implement in your individual life. What's your takeaway from today's show?
Well, I think one thing I was encouraged by with the loud budgeting, they're calling it, on TikTok. I think any sort of promotion of people being aware of their budget, how they're spending their money, the things they're doing, I think is a good thing. So I thought that was encouraging. And then the other thing I really liked about this show was the gap versus the gain mentality. I think people sometimes are too hard on themselves, where it's okay to celebrate your progress. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not the end goal, but it's okay to feel good and positive about progress you're making, whether it's personally, professionally, or financially. And I think the more of those things you can do, the better result you're going to have, and the more successful of an investor that you can be, and the more successful you can be with your money.
You hit it on the head with the gap versus the gain. And I think a lot of people right now are feeling the pain of trying to quantify the gain. It's end of January. Not everybody. A large percentage of the people set a goal January 1st. Like, this is my New Year's resolution. And they're looking and saying, man, my goal is to lose 20 pounds. They've lost 7. Well, guess what? Concentrate on the gap. You've lost 7 pounds. Don't give up now. You have the rest of the year to get 13 off. But too many people are like, man, I've already got behind. I can't do it now. You got to live in that gap. Yeah. And especially in savings. If your goal is to save $10,000 this year, say your goal is that I'm going to save $10,000. And the first month of the year, your furnace went out during the super cold weather, and then you had an ice dam on your roof from the snow, you might be negative right now. Don't give up. Just say, hey, the good news was I had an emergency fund, so I haven't missed out on the savings. Like, just concentrating on what you're doing good. If you've been saving up $1,000 a month and that $1,000 had to go to fix something, big deal. You're still doing the execution it takes to be successful. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for watching the show, listening to the show. If you're still trying to get 2024 started off on the right foot, go to btwellshow.com, get your personalized financial plan, or click the link in the description. I want to thank everybody for listening. Hope you tune in next week.